Guys, what's up? Hope everybody's doing well out there today, and welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling. Guys, today we're going to be going over a little bit of a interview that Rick Clunn did on the Straycast podcast, Straycast with Pat Renwick. He made one profound statement in this particular interview that I've been saying for a long time, and I wanted to pass it along with you guys. I think you guys will really get some, enlightened perspective on this. And I'll also include that video link in the description if you guys want to check it out. But real quick, before we get started in today's video, just wanted to remind you today is our final day of the Solar Bat Father's Day sale extended through the month of July. If you order a pair by tomorrow, 30% off on my Signature Series RB2 Series sunglasses. I'll put that link in the description if you guys are interested in getting a pair. So much appreciated. Okay, guys, if you missed it yesterday, Rick did that interview with Pat Renwick on a Straycast podcast. I've been on it before. I really enjoy it. Pat's a great interviewer. And it was just sort of a wide-ranging interview Pat did with Rick on there. And towards the end of the interview, they were talking about technology a little bit, which we talk about a lot here on the show. And Rick made a statement that I've been saying for a long time, and I was really happy to hear him say it, about how technology in fishing today is causing a lot of the younger anglers and even some of the older anglers to lose their sensory perspective, the sensory element of fishing that has enabled people to be great anglers for years and years. And what he means by that is fishing has always been, and we talked about this on the channel a lot, it's one of the greatest avenues to get reconnected to nature that you'll ever find. And if you look back through history, all through the history of mankind, all the great providers, hunters, fishermen, all that type of stuff, they had a very high awareness level for things that went on in nature. And like Rick was talking about, he was pointing out, being able to use, focus vision and wide angle vision, which is a sort of a Native American technique for increasing your field of view when you're on the water. Talking about, the smells on the water, talking about different sounds, talking about, Rick made one example about he could hear a fish splash behind him without even looking at it and tell exactly what that was, which you can do if you're in tune with that and you spend a lot of time on the water. And other elements of simply being aware of your environment, being aware of nature, expanding your senses to be able to read the mood and the personality of the fish, the mood and the personality of the wildlife in general. Now, this was an important element in fishing because for so many years when we had the more primitive type of electronics, say for example, we just had the flashers with no GPS, basically everything back there was visual target fishing. And when you're dealing with visual target fishing, it's people they've got this perception in their mind that somehow that doesn't require the intelligence that using these high, fangled electronics do. And it's the exact opposite, because the level of intelligence required to decipher all the information and the clues that nature is giving you is far more complex than staring down at a video game screen. I can assure you. There's things in there, there's nuances and there's subtleties that you have to be taught, or it takes decades to learn, being aware. Now, when you were fishing these shallow targets, which that's how predominantly bass fishing has been forever until forward-facing sonar came along and ruined it a couple of years ago, you had to be aware of everything. You had to be aware of the wind direction, the current direction, how it positioned fish on shallow targets. Wind directions would change. You could pick up subtle changes in the humidity levels during the day. You could pick up subtle changes in the light intensity, and all this type of stuff played a role as far as your ability to catch fish off of those shallow targets. And you had to be extremely aware, and your senses had to be at a level beyond what most people even realize senses are. Now, one of the things that you'll find out about sensory perception and senses in bass fishing is, I'm not sure how many people have experienced this, but the tournaments that I have fished in my life where I've won the tournament, or I've been in position to win the tournament, when you are fishing at your complete highest level on terms of your sensory awareness, you sort of enter a surreal environment. It's almost like a paranormal type of a level that you reach, because your awareness automatically expands higher than it's ever been before. I catch myself, I look back some of those tournaments where I knew that if I caught one more fish, I was going to win the tournament, or maybe that I just caught the fish that allowed me to win the tournament. It's like when I'm on the water, it's like my vision is scanning back and forth. My hearing is better than it's ever been. My vision's better. My smell is better. Everything is enhanced. Everything is increased when you get to that point. Now, this is something that is triggered, by the endorphins that come along with having a chance to win the tournament, but they're abilities that we have lost, because what happens now is so many anglers anymore in fishing, ever since live scope and forward facing sonar, that has been a complete crutch to them. They go to a lake, they're not even concerned about bass, movement, behavior, and seasonal patterns. They just go to the lake and they get into some generic type areas and they put the live scope down and they just start spotlighting for bass. Make no mistake about it, guys. Live scope is no different than spotlighting deer. It's the same thing. There's no difference whatsoever. So they get out there and they just roam around looking at the video game screen until they see, a fish in real time, and that's what they have to catch. And in doing so, all of the senses that have been required to catch fish begin to atrophy. And this is what I've talked about forever, is once your senses, your ability to pick up and decipher nature and what nature's trying to tell you, once that begins to atrophy, that is when you lose the magic and the mystery of fishing. I've talked about this for the last 2 years, guys. If you've heard me talk about live scope, you always hear me talk about magic and mystery and how it's destroyed that, and you cannot discount the power of that. If you discount the power of that, you have never experienced the power of that. And I agree with Rick on this interview. I feel really sorry about the people that have become addicted to live scope and they've used that as a crutch, because all of their other innate abilities are going down the tubes. They just don't have it anymore. And the sport becomes less as a result of that. It really does. So anyway, guys, just a quick video. I'll include that Straycast interview. It's well worth the time. It's anytime Rick does an interview, it's always well worth your time to check it out. But made some really good points that I've been saying for a long time, and it just feels good to hear somebody of his caliber to verify that. So we'll talk later.